Good afternoon and welcome to Wednesday Hot Bread. So there are many stories in the Bible about Daniel, and my favorite one, of course, is the one in the lion's den. Now, in this, we are in chapter 6, we're going to talk about trusting God. And of course, the situation that Daniel was put in was that he always prayed 3 times a day. And this was very well known. This was nothing that was a secret, even down to Daniel's diet and what he ate. So he had won the heart of King Darius, and he had plans to move him up in the ranks. But the advisors that Daniel worked with, they didn't like that at all. They were not with that program. They wanted to mess up Daniel's reputation by finding fault in him, and they couldn't. So then they had to come up with a quick plan to get rid of Daniel. So what they did, they had the king to sign a decree that said that you can pray to any, you can pray to God, you can pray to King Darius, but you couldn't pray to any other god. So anyway, they got the king to sign this decree about, for 30 days of not being able to pray to anyone else but King Darius. They got the king to sign this decree. King wasn't thinking, not at all. So Daniel heard that the king had signed the decree. When he heard this, Daniel went home and he prayed. And of course, what did the administrators do? They went to his house and found him praying. And what did they do after that? You know what they did. They went and told it. I tell you, evil people, just like folks on your job. What do they do when they want to get you in trouble? They find fault and they tell everything. They make up stuff. Well, in this case, it wasn't a makeup. Daniel was praying. So the king, of course, did not realize this. As they were talking to the king and they were telling him about someone violating the decree, well, he said, well, the decree has been made, it stands, and that's it. And it can't be broken, it can't be changed. Then they told him, oh, it's your boy Daniel. Well, when the king heard this, he was so upset and distraught and displeased with himself because he was the one that caused Daniel a fate to be to the lion's den. So anyway, he worked all evening trying to think of how to save Daniel's life. And folks, he could not do it. So with that, the men came back and they pressed upon the king. Hey, king, the decree was made. It can't be changed. And finally he had to give in and have them throw Daniel in the lion's den. Now, what I want to say and talk about is that nowhere in the scriptures will you find Daniel upset. You find him being bitter about what they were doing to him, even though he knew it was coming. You don't find Daniel fussing or crying or screaming out and yelling at anyone. You only heard that Daniel went home and prayed. So, as they were throwing him in the lion's den, the king yelled out to him that may your living God, save you, the one that you served continuously. Daniel had a good reputation where he served the Lord. He was such a worthy, trustworthy man, and they knew that he loved the Lord, and they knew that he prayed 3 times a day. But you know what? The lesson learned in this is no matter what happens, you can't give up. You still got to trust God. You still have to keep your eyes focused on him, and you got to trust in his word and in the power that he has to get you out of impossible situations. So with Daniel, this situation was pretty impossible, it seemed. So as they had already thrown Daniel in the lion's den, the king couldn't sleep. But I tell you, that next morning, he ran to that den and there's a little point I want to make, and that is when they put Daniel in the lion's den, the king had it sealed, right? And he put his insignia with his ring on it. So Daniel's situation couldn't be changed. That means no one could get to him, because they could have came back and rolled that rock back and killed him. But they did not want to get found out. So as the story goes, the king finds Daniel alive in the den, and he is happy. And it lets you know that just like in our lives, we should accept things that are happening by trusting in God. I know that seems kind of hard, but Daniel accepted his fate even though he was wrongfully accused. He inspired others with his belief that God would be in that lion's den and send the angels to shut up the mouth of the lions. And in that, Daniel changed the life of a king through his faith, so that at the end, the king told his kingdom, we are going to reverence and worship Daniel's living true God. Now look at that. Because Daniel held his ground, because he trusted in the Lord, his life changed the situation in the kingdom. How many of us have changed the life in a situation of another person's life? So I'm telling you today, no matter what happens, never give up on God. Know that He's going to rescue you. And then be that example of faith, of trusting Him in any circumstances. Whether it seems impossible or possible, trust in the Lord and know that He is the one who can rescue out. I don't know what your lion's den may be. It may be at home, it may be on your job, or the people that you work with. Know that if you keep God in the forefront and trusting in Him and not changing your worship with Him, you will be delivered. I love you all. Thank you.